We had paid lip service to a diversified economy for more than 50 years. Every government that came talked about diversification, but just by words of mouth. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria that diversification is coming alive. We will get to a point that we won't have to depend on oil again. Agric is coming up fast as an alternative to oil. Mining is also coming up. Manufacturing is coming up. That's changed. To a large extent, the administration has lived up to his promise. For those who thought that change was a magic wand, they may claim not to see it. But for those who recognize that change is a process, they know that that process is in motion. It is well and alive, and the result will be delivered to them. What was the state of the economy in 2015? We had an economy that had collapsed, or rather, an economy that had been primed for collapse. Economists say that the Nigerian economy began to slow down in 2012. And curiously, that was a time when oil was at its highest. Between 2012 and 2014, oil prices oscillated between $100 per barrel to $120. It reached $143 per barrel. But the economy began to slow down, simply because the money accruing from oil was not properly utilized. The money went into private pockets. The money was frittered away. By 2015, when the administration came, the government was already borrowing to pay salaries. The then coordinating minister of the economy, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, is on record as saying that by the time the administration exited, it was borrowing to pay salaries. Why should we borrow to pay salaries at a time oil prices had hit the roof? The kind of money this country never made before. So that was the kind of economy this government inherited. And it was no surprise when in 2016 the economy went into recession. Nobody could have stopped it. It was already primed. But then the success story is that recession lasted for just a year. There are economies that went into recession, were there for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. In just 1 year, through deft footworks, Nigerian economy came out of recession. And you will see that the economy that revived with about 1.09 growth is now reaching 3.5 something. The last figure I saw was 2.9, and the forecast from World Bank and IMF is that Nigeria may reach 3.5% growth this year. It shows a lot that the government is doing. So all those who are saying we have not seen the impact on the economy, they will see it. The economy did not go into recession in 1 year. It slowed down from 2012, went into recession in 2016. So how do you expect that in 1 year you will see the impact in the people's pockets? When the economy exited recession and the president spoke, he said, "I'm glad we have exited recession, but my joy will be full when it begins to impact on the lives of the ordinary people." And we're on the road to that point when the recovered economy will impact on the lives of people. Rice sold for 20,000 naira per 50 kg bag at a time. That same rice is 15,000 now. At festive season, Lake Rice, which is a collaboration between Lagos and Kebbi states, sells for 12,000 naira. A time will come when rice will drop to 7,000, 5,000 per bag in this country. We should commend this administration for giving us a diversified economy.
Oh, definitely. So much has changed in the country. If it is the economy, we have done far more than our opponents are willing to concede to us. This country has recorded significant growth in terms of solid minerals, development, agriculture has grown. When we took power, electricity available to Nigerians was between 2,500 to 2,600 megawatts. Today, what we have available is more than 7,000 megawatts. Of course, the discourse as we have in our cities have the limitations in their capacity as to how much they take. 5,000 out of the 7,500 that is available. But the government has innovated a scheme by which there is now a direct sale. This excess power of about 2,000, 2,500 can be sold to bulk buyers so that the wastage itself is reduced. There is so much that is being done to transform road and rail infrastructure. The existing 3,000 kilometers of monorail scheme that we had, has been handed over now to GE, the American company General Electric. They are going to mend a lot of the problems that are there. They are bringing in a lot of coaches, and the old train service that this country had known is coming back. But in addition to that, the government has established a new standard gauge railway scheme that is faster, that is more efficient. And already Kaduna, Abuja, which the previous administration began, has been completed and commissioned. We will commission Lagos Ibadan this year. And all of the contracts broken as they are between Lagos and Kano have now been awarded. And the government is now looking at Lagos, Port Harcourt. As a matter of fact, the president's directive is that every state capital of the federation must be linked to the new standard gauge railway scheme. We have achieved a stable naira. This is a dream of many administrations in the past. Nigerians and investors from abroad can have a view of a stable naira that has been there, and the parity achieved more or less between what is the so-called official rate and unofficial bureau de change rates. This merger is a significant achievement that a lot of people must come to appreciate.
Oh, definitely. You ask any Nigerian pensioner and he will tell you that he never knew that they'll be treated the way they're being treated in PITAD. PITAD is one of those agencies that are actually showing Nigerians that change is possible. We had a group of war-affected police officers who had been granted amnesty in year 2000. That was 17 years ago, and they were never paid their pensions and gratuities. So PITAD now went to verify those pensioners. And to me, that was one of the most emotional days. And yes, know that these pensioners cut across the whole of the South and the Southeast, who were on the other side of the federal government during that sad civil war. These are men in their 80s and 90s. And one of them had said to me that he knows the monthly pension we're going to pay them is very little. But to him, that payment will signify that Nigeria has accepted them back and forgiven them, that this is all he's waiting for before he dies. I was moved close to tears. So we set up the verification in Enugu, and we went with the president of the NUP for the police pension department, Ideli Soyakilome. He was there with us in Enugu. And seeing this group of men and women gathered, so elated and close to tears, and all they were saying that no other government remembered them except Buhari's government. Actions speak louder than words. With that singular action, they have now understood and believed that Buhari is an equitable man. He does not discriminate against one group to the other. He hates social injustice, and that non-payment of the pensions for the privatized agencies and the war-affected policemen were one of the social injustices that this government has redressed. And we couldn't have done it without President Buhari being in the mantle of leadership. We are building strong institutions. PITAD is one of them. With all the reforms we're putting in place, it's in our bid to build strong institutions and leave a legacy so that after we are gone, the changes we put in place will remain for a better Nigeria. Change is here in PITAD. We have restored hope in pension administration.
Having come this far, I sincerely believe that the change has come. Let me go where he is touching more than any other regime in the country. Massive critical infrastructure development. His target is 5,000 kilometers federal roads, 5,000 kilometers of rail lines, additional 5,000 megawatts of electricity, and the expansion of the transmission line, because going by the records, it's about 7,000 megawatts today, but they cannot all be wheeled, evacuated into the transmission line. So it's invested about $2.5 billion to have what we call the super grid transmission line. What is it going to do? The Mambila hydroelectric power plant. It was conceived as far back in 1973, but President Muhammadu Buhari is the person that is starting it. He has started. It's a 3-4 years completion cycle. It's going to generate over 3,000 megawatts of electricity, and it's going to irrigate thousands of hectares of farming land. You also have Enugu coal that is going to generate about 1,000 megawatts in mind. Then he puts the wind, the renewable energies. He's reactivating the one in the arid areas and windy areas like Katsina. Then there's also other renewables like solar. So when you put what he has in the docket for electricity, in the next 3-5 years, you have additional 5,000 megawatts. Mambila hydro, about 3,000. Enugu coal, 1,000. Solar, wind, and mini hydro power plants, you have additional 5,000. For me, it's the most massive infrastructure development being embarked by one regime at a time in a country. What else has changed?